You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 76 of Teach Better Talk. My name's Ray Hewart, and as always, I'm with the very analytical Jeff Gargis.
Analytical? Ooh,
You're very analytical.
Well, I guess they're all new, but that's a fun one. Where'd that come from?
It was a fun one. That was submitted by our friend Jeff. No, I'm sorry. You're my friend, Jeff. That was submitted by our friend Frank over on Facebook. I don't have any of his information, but Frank, consider this your shout out, and I do consider you a very close friend.
Does Frank have a last name?
On Facebook, it's just Frank.
It's just Frank?
That's what we're looking at. So thanks, buddy. I love when people send me messages, but sometimes they don't send me all their information. So I'm going to celebrate Frank for all of his glory.
Do you know, I don't know, we'll do a little lesson here, Ray. I don't know if you know, but when they send you a message, you can actually message them back and request that stuff.
Oh, I do. And sometimes they get back to me and sometimes they don't. But I really wanted to celebrate how analytical you are regardless of their punctuality on social media.
You know, I'm analytical. Frank is very mysterious at this point. So thank you to Frank for the word and the kind word. I'll take that as a kind word.
It's a kind word.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but not everybody lives on social media like you do. So they might not get a message for days on end, and that's actually normal.
That's true. That is probably a lot more normal. Speaking of social media, we actually talked about social media quite a bit in this episode.
We did.
With Michelle, because she's an awesome Instagram
guru.
Guru is a good word. Superstar, rock star. So, one of the things, and we touch on this a little bit she touches on it in the episode, but it's something that you and I have talked about quite a bit about it, and I've talked with several other people too, about just sort of how there's a lot of fluff on social media, and I know we all know you and your love of fluff. How fluff is not enough, and it's such a big thing, but I think it can be very easy for someone to get on, on any kind of social media platform. Instagram really pops out just because it's so, it's image based, but to see all these things that happen in rooms, in classrooms, and all the glitz and glamour and the fluff, as you call it, and get confused that maybe they're not as good of a teacher as they thought, or that they don't do enough for their students, or they don't decorate the room the right way or whatever. And I worry a lot, and you and I talk about this, how like a good teacher could sort of maybe doubt themselves or beat themselves up because they're comparing themselves too much for that. And, Michelle touches on something in this episode about how, social media is really like the highlights of our days. And so I just wanted to see if maybe I could get you to rant for a few seconds or minutes or hours on, I think it's very crucial that educators realize that especially Instagram, but just social media in general, is really like the highlights of our days. And if you compare yourself too much and you beat yourself up, I think you're going to miss a lot of the value that is out there on social media. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Am I making any sense right now?
Well, I think you're making perfect sense, Jeff. Absolutely. I mean, the reason I was so excited for Michelle Weiss to join us on this episode was because she is an educator that has a beautiful Instagram feed, but actually focuses on the value she's providing to her network. And that is essential. I mean, we joke, I've written about it in blogs before at teachbetter.com that like Twitter could be really valuable, or it could be the Kardashians and celebrity newsfeed that you choose to have. And Instagram can be full of houses and furniture, or it can be full of teachers posting neon paper and glitter. And that's where you always get, me on my high horse of like, hey guys, don't forget, fluff ain't enough. But Michelle is a perfect example of an educator that has not just providing beautiful eye-catching photos, which I always love about Instagram, but really ensuring that her network is focusing on the value of reaching students and the importance of taking care of yourself. And she touches a lot on that in this episode. But what I want our listeners to know is that Instagram feed, that Twitter feed, that Facebook feed you have more control over than you might feel. That I don't want you to ever log into a social media platform and see that as a reason for discouragement. It really is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to connect with teachers that are doing something different than you. It's an opportunity to reflect. It's an opportunity to celebrate the successes you've had and the moments of what that feels like failure and how you got to the other side. And the only way that you can construct that news feed to have that message in your mind when you log in is by ensuring that the people that you're connecting with in your network are people that are focused on those core values. At the Teach Better team, we always use the motto of like better today than we were yesterday, better tomorrow than we were today. And I love that mindset. We talked a lot about that in past episodes. But Michelle is so special in her ability to not just focus on growth, but on being vulnerable. And if we could all encourage each other to not just see social media as a highlight reel, but see social media as opportunities to grow and reflect and learn, then our news feeds will change on their own. You'll start connecting with people, whether it be on Twitter or Instagram, that value those core values, and the fluff will slowly dissipate. We joke that Instagram's image-based, but a good picture is eye-catching. A good picture does catch our moment of as we're scrolling through our feed, but in that caption, what value's there? In that photo, what are you getting out of that? And if you're connecting with the right teachers, you'll never get fluff. Is that the rant that you wanted? I'm a little nervous that maybe you fell asleep on me.
I'm good with it. I think you touched on what it is. I think the important piece is to it comes back to you sort of you get out of it what you're looking for and what you're trying to get. And I think the important piece is to, like you said, is to know what you're trying to get out of it and go find the right people to surround yourself with and look look for those opportunities to learn and grow and put it in place instead of comparing yourself to the fancy pictures and stuff. So loving it. Great episode. So Michelle Weiss is a second grade teacher, actually from Central Illinois, not far from you, which we kind of talk a little bit about on the episode. But super passionate about what she does. Really big, and she talks a little bit about this, how she's getting more into the self-care movement of really taking care of yourself and trying, like you said, she's very purposeful about what she's trying to put out to her, to her audience, and that's one of the things she's really focusing on. So we talk about that a little bit, and I just really, I don't know, I just enjoyed her passion in general through the whole episode. Anything in particular, other than you already touched on quite a bit of it, she's did a lot around the social media and around what we just talked about, but anything particular that you really want people to listen for in this episode?
I think that she just has great perspectives on how we need to build a network, so we're not just living out on an island. There was a time in education where the best professional development you could get was the people in your building. And while there is incredible value that still exists there's also an incredible network that you can continue to build. And so I hope that everybody is able to listen to this episode with Michelle and just soak in the glory of really connecting with people that are going to make you better. So I thought that was really important in her episode.
And with that, let's get into episode 76 with Michelle Weiss. All right, we are here and we are talking with Michelle Weiss, and we are super excited to have you on, Michelle. We've been connected in different various ways and follow your Instagram awesomeness all the time. Super excited to have you on and kind of dig into your brain and get to know you a little bit more. And we found out in our chat before we hit record that you listen to the podcast, so that makes us super excited to see how your experience is on this side versus the other side of the earphones. So first off, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and chatting with us and hanging out with us, having some fun with us. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Like I said, I've been listening for a while now, trying to get caught up on everything you guys have got going on. But you've got some great guests, so I'm pretty honored to be part of that company of people.
Jeff, I thought you were going to celebrate the fact that she is in the amazing state of Illinois. And that's what you were so thrilled about when she was coming on the Teach Better Talk podcast.
Well, no, I was just, when I found that out, I was like, oh no, she's going to be on the wrong time too.
Because dun, dun, dun. Yeah, Central Time Zone.
Ray's always just like a little bit behind us. No, yes, we can celebrate the fact that she's, so you're in Central, so where are you by? How far are you from Ray?
I'm about an hour, is that west of where Ray is? I'm in Peoria.
Oh, you're in Peoria. Okay. Well, Ray goes there all the time for coffee.
I love their coffee shops. My favorite spot in the whole world coffee shop is in Peoria.
What is it? What's it called? Let's give it a shout out.
Zion Coffee.
Oh, Zion is good. They have espresso popsicles too. It's a whole world.
Truly, if I ever leave this state, I will come back to Peoria just every so often for the coffee. I love the coffee shop. It's my favorite space on earth. Okay, I'm done talking about coffee, I promise. Well, Michelle, I am thrilled that you are on Teach Better Talk. I feel like I've been counting down the days to actually get you on here and pick your brain after we connected earlier in February. So I want to make sure that our listeners kind of get the full picture of all the excellence that you've been able to do in your career so far. How do you answer the question of what you do?
Well, little introduction to me. I'm a second grade teacher in Central Illinois in Peoria. I have background in pre-K and kindergarten before moving up to second grade. So I'm enthralled in the world of early childhood education, and that's a big part of who I am. I'm also part of a really great school that's full of passionate teachers who really honestly represent lifelong learning. So for me, I'm always just motivated by the people around me, and I feel honored to just have such a good crew with me. Within my school, I tend to kind of be the over the top, goofy, ridiculous one, and I'm own that. I love to bring the big lessons that include costumes or music and room transformations into what I do. So anything to be about as extra as possible is what I go for on that. I also am, based on some of the things I've seen on social media, particularly Instagram, I'm really taking a step into the teacher self-care movement. I feel like that's something that we all kind of talk about, but no one on social media shows it because social media is this, highlight of our lives and our teaching lives and things like that. But there's so much more to us. So that's a big recent passion of mine, is to show a little bit more authenticity on social media so that new teachers can understand the real struggle and not just the best parts of what we do, but some of the nitty gritty, dirty things we get into. So with the self-care movement, my husband and I love to travel. That's a big thing we do. Locally and far away, we've recently been to big places like Italy and Norway, and pretty soon leaving on a trip to go from Barcelona to Nice. So I'm really excited for that this summer.
Was that an invitation? Can we come?
Oh, totally. We'd love to travel with other people. We have some friends who used to be in the area that we travel with every year also. So you guys can be our next travel group.
Oh, I like it. I love that we record this and that will be forever out there as an agreement that is legally binding.
Well, you guys are then stuck with me too. So
that we'll get over it. We'll get through it. We'll make it work.
Hey guys, while we take a quick break, I want to make sure that you are constantly thinking about how you are growing your network. We have a #mastery chat every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. It's a great way to pop on, answer a few questions, and collaborate with teachers around the world. Hope you join us next Thursday.
So I want to talk, you mentioned social media a lot, and you have a really nice following on Instagram. And, a lot of times when we see, you run into a teacher, or maybe you're a younger teacher or a teacher that's newer to Instagram, and you see these teachers that have got thousands and thousands of followers, and people liking their posts, and they're seeing the awesome things that are going in their classroom, and they're seeing, like you said, sort of the highlight of your life. I think it can very easily, from a younger teacher perspective, or really any person, say, man, you know what, she's got it all together, she's got it all figured out, she's just rocking and rolling, she must be just awesome at her job. And I think sometimes they forget that you've also struggled. You've also had challenges. You probably had some things that you chalk up as a failure, or fall on your face, whatever it might be. So I'm hoping that you can share with us now a time that you failed, a time that you've had some struggle and a challenge, and then tell us how you overcame that and what you learned from that experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm still consider myself a relatively new teacher. I just finished my 5th year, which is an exciting accomplishment, but I know there's still a lot to learn. So in those first few years, I know I failed a lot. there's a big learning curve for new teachers out there. And I definitely came into teaching way more confident than I deserve to be. I know that in my first few years, I encountered a lot of failures, particularly with parent communication, which in the early childhood and early ed world, that's a huge part of it. They're sending their babies off to school for the first time, and you're their person. And unfortunately, like a lot of them, I failed just because I wasn't open to the feedback that they were offering me or criticism that they had. And I took it too personally instead of as a learning opportunity. And I would shut down, I'd dig my heels in, and I'd stand my ground on what I thought was right. Even if it wasn't anything major, I can already imagine, like, think about one time specifically was I just didn't want to send extra copies of a paper home because I wanted to make sure the kid was responsible. And that was such a minor thing that if I had just sent some extra papers like the parent requested, wouldn't have been something I remember now. But I distinctly remember that having such a negative impact on our relationship with the parent teacher relationship. And I could have handled that situation so much differently. And I could have still had a good relationship with some of those families that unfortunately I broke some of those bonds. But last summer I did read Kim Bearden's book, Talk to Me. And I felt like it helped me so much in reflecting on my practices with communication. It gave me a good new perspective on humility and addressing difficult topics and how to communicate more effectively with families.
So after doing that and reflecting on there, are there some changes that you've put in place that you're going to be putting in place, or that maybe you tried this year, or?
Well, and the best part about her book is it's things are good practice, but you just need someone to tell you explicitly. She gives so many examples of a parent would come in really angry about something, and just to actually sit and listen and to figure out if that was the thing that they were really upset about, or if there was a deeper underlying issue that you could help address in that. So just really, like, I'm a big person. I'm instantly trying to think of my next response, but actually taking the time to sit and listen to what they have to say and the meaning and the intent behind it is just so invaluable.
Yeah, that's crucial. And it's hard to do because we all want to kind of cue up our response and what we're thinking and based on what we think they're actually going to say or trying to say, but that listening piece is just crucial. So I love that. That's great. So now let's flip it. Let's talk about a successful moment that you've had. This can be something big or something small, but tell us, why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that?
Well, basically, I'm going to say my whole school year this year was a difficult situation that led to some huge success. This was definitely my hardest year of teaching so far. We had lots of challenges in the classroom. We had all these changes to curriculum that it kind of flipped everything around. Instead of a curriculum, we had a standards-based scope and sequence, and it was a big transition for a lot of us. I had a new grade level partner who I love, but it was still an adjustment to get used to. I had my first paraprofessional in my classroom, so having someone else seeing you teach all day was this new added level of pressure that I hadn't experienced so far. And I also am just a few weeks away from finishing up grad school, which I'm very excited about. So this year just had so many things packed into one that I hadn't experienced in the past that, I faced a lot of challenges along the way, but I came out of it such a better teacher than I had been before. So I'm really proud of how my students and I both all grew through this situation of a difficult year, lots of changes, but now we're calm, we're balanced, we got summer break, and I'm like getting geared up for a new year now that I know we could get through all of those changes.
Listen to that, a teacher who just started summer break and already gearing up for August.
I never stop thinking.
Love it.
That's awesome. Michelle, something I always have loved as we've connected on social media, and I keep forgetting how close we are. We really need to hang out sometime. But you are constantly upping your game. And even just with that comment before of constantly thinking about next school year, even though summer break already started. I love that grit, that drive, that fire that you have in you, because I think a lot of teachers hit a burnout phase of their career. And it's amazing that when we hit that phase, we have two choices. We either need to get back up and figure out the next fuel that will fuel the spark of really driving us forward, or we kind of sit back and it becomes a job rather than a lifestyle of being a strong teacher that's really in it for the students. And Jeff, you know that we talk about Chad's rock bottom moment all the time, which is kind of the pillar of how we started the Teach Better team, or I should say how you started it and then let me tag on, which was awesome. But I love hearing teachers that have found their fire and are allowing that to really fuel them forward. So will you tell me, of all the things going on in education, every single component of it, what's really getting you excited about everything you're doing?
Well, like you already mentioned, a big part of what I do is on social media, particularly Instagram. And that's something that gets me pumped up every day. Like, I know many educators focus on Twitter for their PLN, which gives you great stuff on there too. I get a lot. But maybe they have this opinion of Instagram. It's all the fluff and the cutesy classroom decor and things like that, because there is a big target audience for that. But there are so many people out there on Instagram making huge impacts by sharing their message. There are just so many conversations happening over there, and they've really challenged me to reflect on my own practices and perspectives. There's some real authentic conversations happening about bias in curriculum and privilege in educational structures, microaggressions, appropriation, FERPA with social media, culturally diverse books, and so much more. And what people are sharing have really impacted what I do in the classroom. So I'm just really excited that social media is being used for these important conversations and not just for the big highlight reels and look at this cute transformation I did and some things like that, but some really important, valuable conversations. And I'm excited that teachers are open to it, because a lot of these conversations can feel really uncomfortable. And I know I felt uncomfortable at first, but then I just kind of had to check myself and realize that was my privilege talking. And I really needed to sit back and listen and gain these experiences so that I could be a better teacher for my students. So just the fact that these platforms are being used to really make a change in classrooms is something that's just awesome to see.
That, Michelle, that goes perfectly back to what you touched on when you were introducing yourself in the introduction of this podcast, was your focus on not just sharing what's in your classroom, but wanting to use it as a platform for new teachers and educators using Instagram or whatever social media to see that self-care is really important. And it's amazing to me. I mean, as we look through our networks that our people are building, that ability to be vulnerable and show that, teaching isn't the easiest job in the world. And here are some important components that you want to share with your network to ensure that they're also feeling inspired and vulnerable to take care of themselves. I mean, that's really important. So when it comes to all those decisions you've made as educator so far, right? You were 5 years in the field. You are obviously building a network of just supporting teachers and wanting them to not only support their students, but themselves. What advice do you give new teachers, whether it be new to the job, new to the profession, new to a building? When we walk in August, this coming August, what advice do teachers need to continue on this track of being progressive?
Well, and I'm going to continue along with the social media part, but to have a positive digital footprint. Because I know many administrators look at social media accounts prior to hire someone. I've sat in on interviews and we've looked at social media and made a determination based on that. And so you want your impression you're making to be positive. Also, in the time we're in, if you aren't connected with a support structure and a PLN, you can, like you said, face teacher burnout so fast. And so I really rely on that group of people on Twitter and Instagram to affirm what I'm doing in my classroom and then provide opportunity for growth. And I think it also is setting a good example for our students to show the positive impact of social media and the appropriate use of it. And my district's currently going one-to-one with technology. And that kind of like digital citizenship is something we talk about. How do you teach that to students? And a big part of that is being able to model it and to show them authentic uses of it in an appropriate way.
I think that's crucial. I think, for a long time, people, parents, teachers, however, just people in society in general have been trying to sort of fight social media. versus understanding it and utilizing it for the positive and for the good. And I love seeing more and more teachers being focused on that digital citizenship and realizing that that's where it's how our world is. It's very digital, and our students are there, and there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of possibility, and a lot of really good things that come from it if we educate them on how to utilize it properly, how to be smart, how to be safe, how to be good citizenships and stuff, or citizens. So I love that you touched on that. So
hey Jeff,
awesome.
Didn't we just release a course on how to do that?
Yes, we did.
Over
I didn't think of it because technically right now it's not released, but by the time this podcast releases, it will be released.
It will be out. Yeah, it will be official.
Yeah, it's out. A free course.
I love free courses
on the very basics. So social media basics for teachers. Yeah, but the guy who led it's kind of a bum, so I wouldn't take it.
I mean, he's okay.
That was my first course, Michelle. That's why that's funny.
Oh, okay.
We don't actually let bums other than me do courses.
Jeff,
anyway.
It's a really good course, and it's all on the basics of social media. So if we have any listeners that aren't gurus like Michelle that are thinking about making a social media platform, whether it be a personal or professional or for your classroom, it's a really good course to get started and figure out where you want to begin. So I know that you're goofing on yourself, but for real, it's a good course.
Well, thanks, Ray. I appreciate it. All right. So now, Michelle, let's have some fun.
Okay.
And you know this because you listen, so you're probably already ready to rock and roll with these. But we're going to do the next 6 questions, and your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I got this, yeah.
All right. Give us one ed tech tool you cannot live without.
Seesaw Digital Learning Portfolio.
And give us a book that you're reading right now.
Oh, I'm always reading a fiction, nonfiction, and teacher book.
All right, go.
I've got Dear Martin, Factfulness, and Lies My Teacher Told Me.
All right, and Factfulness is the nonfiction?
Yes.
Fiction is the Dear Martin, and then Lies My Teacher Told Me. Awesome. Who do we need to follow on Twitter today? And give me just 2.
Oof, and I'm going to flip the script and instead of Twitter, do Instagram.
That's all right. Yes, flip it to Instagram, of course.
I know you guys are totally all on Twitter already.
No, we love Instagram too. Do it.
Some people on Instagram having some great conversations right now are Read Like a Rock Star and Confessions of a Muslim Mom. They'll give you a good diverse perspective on classroom environments.
Love it. Give us the best YouTube channel or website for educators.
TED Ed Talks, always.
And give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Nothing beats a good night's sleep. So getting your sleep schedule on track and going to sleep at the same time, and a good night's sleep will do you good and do your students good.
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Ron Clark saying, make it happen to anything. Just any dream you have, any goal you have, just how are you going to make it happen?
Love it.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, I want to make sure that we not just are able to enjoy your amazingness here, but also that our listeners can connect with you on whichever platform you prefer so that they can continue to see not only incredible ways that you can be reaching and working with your students, but also permission to be vulnerable and really begin to work on themselves and do all those amazing things to make sure that they're staying healthy. Would you mind sharing how they can connect with you?
Yeah, on Twitter, you can find me at Michelle Weiss _. And on Instagram, you can find me at The Colorful Teacher.
Awesome. And you can find all the links and all the resources and everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the really important links so you can connect with Michelle and keep the conversation going. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for all of those in the show notes. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and a review, we'd really, really appreciate that as well. And I'm going to continue to push you to take it one step further and think of just 3 of your colleagues or your friends or your family members who need to hear the amazing stories and advice that these just phenomenal educators like Michelle are bringing to this podcast, and share this podcast with them because we want to continue to spread these stories as well. Michelle, this was just an awesome episode. We were super excited to have you on, and you did not disappoint at all. Super excited for everyone to hear it. We really appreciate you taking some time to come out and hang out with us. Just thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This has been a blast. Love it.
Loving it. And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.